All right, we are live now.
Good day, everyone. Happy Girls in ICT Day. On behalf of Team Fujitsu, it is my pleasure to welcome you to our Girls in ICT virtual celebration. For those of you who have participated in our face-to-face activities, you know it's exceptionally fun-filled and interactive. Our virtual celebration will be no different. In light of our current situation, our theme this year is how COVID-19 has changed the world. There's a meme floating around that asks the question, who led the digital transformation of your company? And the options are CEO, the Chief Technological Officer, or COVID-19. And of course, most persons chose COVID-19. And it's true. We have all been forced to adopt technology to navigate our new normal. We now have to telecommute, work from home, do classes online, spend time with our family and friends via video calls. We have all seen an increase in the availability and usage of online shopping, me included, delivery and health services so as to limit physical contact with possible carriers of the virus. All physical events now happen virtually, even parties, which I must say have been quite nice. COVID-19 has made it critically clear the importance of digital transformation. And now more than ever, we all have to disrupt or be disrupted, using technology to find solutions to today's problems. The COVID-19 pandemic highlights exactly why girls and women need to be empowered to use technology. Technology affords us the opportunity to start new businesses, see a lot of people making masks now because it's now mandatory, sell products to new markets, find better paying jobs, and access education, health, and financial services. Nobody can go to the bank now, so we all have to go online. Who is going to help our banks to go online now? It's going to be us. Today, our panel includes CEO and Head of Caribbean and Latin America here at Fujitsu, Mervyn Eyre, who will deliver opening remarks. He will be followed by Professor Rosalie Hamilton, who will assess the impact of COVID-19. Professor Hamilton is a well-known advocate for vulnerable groups, especially members of the MSME sector. She is also an international trade expert and has taught extensively at the graduate and undergraduate levels. As CEO of Lascaux Chin Foundation, Professor Hamilton leads the charge for early intervention to help Jamaica's at-risk youths develop the relationships, goals, and capabilities needed to break the cycle of poverty and crime and to be productive members of society, especially as successful entrepreneurs, which we all should strive to become. To help mold our financial future, we have Michelle Sinclair Doyley, who will join us shortly. And according to Miss Doyley, she does not work. She enjoys her way to a paycheck, which is nice. Why? Because she is doing what she loves, which is making finance simple for everyone, and we all need that. For almost a decade, Michelle was a personal portfolio manager, and while in that role, she achieved JMMB's Exceptional Performance Award every year since its inception. In her role of Manager of Client Financial Education, she received JMMB's Special Recognition Award in 2016, 2017, and 2019. In 2019, her role was expanded to Manager Financial Partnership Support and Financial Education. She holds an MBA from the Mona School of Business and is a certified John Maxwell Leadership and Personal Development Trainer and Coach. Ladies, we're in for quite a treat. with some prizes at the end if you ask questions. I now hand over to Mervyn to take us through to some digital transformation conversations. Mervyn, over to you.
Crystal, thanks a lot for the introduction. And to be up front, I'm going to be on this call for about 15 minutes before I jump off to another one. My life has changed radically. You talk about how it's changed the world. My life has changed radically by doing everything online from home. I always look forward to this event every year. Girls in ICT is a really important event for us, a really important period of time for Fujitsu, given the dependency we have on women in our industry, increasingly so after COVID, I think, and I'll just share a little bit about why I think that's the case. But everything has changed. One of the big changes for me is that I have to deal with the trauma of seeing my face more often on the screen. So I've been trying to fix that up, wearing these devices in your ears to try and hear things more clearly, and play with the backdrop. So I don't have a backdrop like my colleagues do, but we've been tinkering backdrops to try and hide what's behind you. So it's a new existence, and learning how to actually lead and communicate from home virtually is actually a new culture, a whole new behavior, which I think women and girls get better than men. And you actually have a major role to play in that. So I think that this Girls in ICT Day is actually timed really well this year, because it's on the back of our Each Equal campaign, when there was a period of, I think, I can't remember the actual day itself, around equality and gender equality. And Fujitsu actually launched a campaign called Each Equal, where we encourage, be completely you. I think the same message transcends into what we were saying today. With ICT and Girls Day. I think the first point I'd want to make sure I communicate really strongly is to everyone, to practice social distancing. At every opportunity, I communicate that, because here's a reality. I actually was reading an article yesterday or day before in terms of the analysis of this really critical point that we've reached in as a world, is to the transition from protecting lives and reacting to protecting lives to protecting livelihoods. And the key thing that will determine that is the extent to which we as a people practice social distancing. There's a direct correlation between the extent to which an economy will recover in terms of time to the extent to which social distances is practiced as a normal behavior. We see, for those of you who watch TV, that there's tensions that's developing in different countries. In the US, you see some states are demanding to go back to work, and they're saying, trust us to practice social distancing, because the reality is that the world cannot continue just to stop as it has. And the only resolution to that is the discipline that we have in social distancing. So to put it bluntly, our ability to, our livelihoods are directly related to the discipline we have in social distancing for the moment, because there is no solution to the COVID virus. That one, our livelihoods, our future, our ability to earn income is directly related to the extent to which we practice social distancing. And therein lies actually a tremendous opportunity. So Crystal mentioned this about the meme around what's accelerating digital transformation. Well, it is a tension between livelihoods and social distancing that is driving that. And from a perspective of the role of girls and women in ICT, let me just speak to the roles of girls and women in social distancing first. I think you all have a responsibility to do that, but I actually believe that girls and women get that message much better than men do, and there's a leadership responsibility around it. I think there's a knowing about the necessity around it. So again, I encourage the leadership of no matter what age you are, to take your role in social distancing. So the world has changed because of it, and I think more now than ever, we are dependent on digital technologies. And, so my role, as Crystal has put very directly in the meme, who's tried to accelerate transformation? Is it the CEO? Is it COVID? So all of a sudden, I'm no longer important. COVID is, right? But I don't mind the help, because what it does, it creates new opportunities for girls to, first of all, continue to get technology savvy, but also to be the entrepreneurs that you want to be. I actually believe that the nature of girls and women are more aligned to working at home, because it takes patience and temper. It removes the ego from a lot of the things that business is driven by. All of a sudden, there's an equity about how people work, and that's really a massive opportunity, I think, for girls and women who want to become leaders, for girls to project themselves, leveraging technology in ways that perhaps that they couldn't do before, to break through the barriers that no longer exist because technology and COVID has broken them. So I think now is a time more than ever for you to, first of all, get to understand the immediate tools around how you can use technology to become more present in what you do. I think now is a time for you to also start crafting out careers in ICT, which have been changed, because I think that there's going to be a massive opportunities of development of apps. We're already seeing how apps are helping healthcare. We're seeing how apps are helping people who make masks from home, because there's no barrier in terms of how you procure. So there's take that opportunity to deliberately start learning what it takes. Also, given that there's a disruption in terms of education, use that period of time where perhaps things are either slow down, or you have a different means, or you now have more control over your own time and how you learn, to determine to upskill yourself. I think there's a great opportunity in this crisis. There's a great opportunity. And by the way, there's another thing that's happening here. The earth is healing itself. I think yesterday was Earth Day. And the timing of Earth Day was really interesting, because as a result of the COVID crisis, the earth is changing. And one could argue perhaps COVID is a revenge on human beings for what they've done to the earth, and the earth is healing itself. You're seeing dolphins in Venice. You're seeing, even in Jamaica here, things changing, pollution, less damage from pollution. And so there's a massive shift around it. And again, within that, we see great opportunities for creativity. So as we move away from the shock of all of this and move into the opportunity associated to it, I encourage girls to leverage ICT more deliberately, more directly in terms of what you're doing, and to create futures for yourself. Fujitsu as a business is making its own shift. This is about our own survival as we focus on moving from saving lives to livelihoods. And like any other business, we're going through the change and we're making adjustments to it. We depend more now than ever on girls and women to help us with that transition, that transformation. In fact, the call I have most of this today is about change. And I think change is a reality about our existence at the moment. So we actually have, I'm really blessed to have Prof. Hamilton and Michelle from JMMB, who are really powerful women that are exemplars to follow. If I was a woman, I'd follow them. They're inspirational people, full of experience, full of knowledge, and I think more than anything else, full of intentions, good intentions, and so prepared to share themselves and be a part of the wider community. And both of them really are focused on this issue of how does one recraft our livelihoods in this new period in very tangible ways. So Prof. And Michelle, really delighted to have you on. I know that your contributions will be life-changing for the people, for the girls watching this call, and the guys who will be watching this call, and hopefully with the work of Andrea and our communication team, this will be broadcast to everywhere in the world, because that's the possibilities that we actually have now. So on that note, let me hand back over to you, Crystal, as the facilitator of our experience in this moment in time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mervyn. All right, Prof, Over to
Yes.
you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your kind words, Marvin. I must congratulate you, Fujitsu, for this great initiative. It is an important conversation on Girls in ICT Day. I want to just talk about two things. I want to talk mainly about the health impacts and the economic impacts and the tremendous opportunity it opens up for girls in IT. We know of the physical health effects that is taking place. We're all trying to prevent the contracting of the virus, and we've seen almost immediately the emergence of, these laser printers, using them for masks and so on. We had some UTech students, I know Raven Stewart and there's a young lady who's also part of that team that did this whole ultraviolet light technology to kill bacteria. All those kinds of creative responses, phenomenal. And I was very happy to see that a lot of that was being led by young people who saw this opportunity and jumped on it. But we perhaps don't talk enough about the behavioral health impacts. And again, huge opportunities there for digital transformations. I want to just say a little about the fear and the anxiety and the stress that a lot of us are going through at this moment. And it actually exacerbates existing problems. Especially here in Jamaica, where, we unfortunately have this reputation of being among the most violent countries in the world. And so this is creating difficulties, and I think will increasingly create difficulties. But in other parts of the world, Bloomberg recently reported that divorce filings in China kind of dramatically increased as couples emerged out of quarantine. And, all of those tensions while you're in a small space, especially if you don't have a large home, creates and exacerbates pre-existing tensions and conflicts that exist. And so the potential, and there's also evidence already we're seeing on domestic abuse. And this is not just about husband and wives and spouses and so on, and abusive relationships, but we saw just yesterday in the newspaper a son killing his father in Grandspen over empty bottles or some stupidness. But again, it is just another example of how these tensions and stresses and so on. And I think women need to be in the forefront of finding solutions. I think Mervyn did talk about, this whole space of the home. We've really took that role and have done a lot with it. We've literally created bread out of stone in trying to, make the family work. But these tensions that exist are also part of that. And so I think, especially because we know a lot of the abuse is happening to women, girls in ICT, I think, must be at the forefront of the solutions there. And there are all kinds of digital solutions that are possible. And we're also seeing, mental illness, anxiety disorders and so on. And that is certainly studies have suggested that it is perhaps the biggest component of mental illness, all of this linked to anxiety. And this is exactly what is happening during this period. We're all very anxious about what is going to happen next. Everything is so fluid. And so digital solutions are key, whether it is simply online interactions like we're having now, where we have a chance to see and interact and share ideas. But there are new professional developments taking place, online psychotherapy, telepsychiatry, all of these things are happening. And apps to measure and address these kinds of stresses are significant and very, very important. And so those are areas I think we have to look at. That research has shown that these digital mental health interventions are significant and do improve psychological well-being. We, of course, have to be very aware of the dark side of technologies. where, you know, there's a lot of reliance on our phones and all of these apps and so on. And sometimes we're more into the apps than into reality, right? Some of us are addicted to all the fun and the excitement that we're getting from these apps, but we have to be very mindful of that. But these impacts are important. And I started with the health effects because they have profound economic implications, whether it is the impact on individuals and therefore the loss of productivity. But we all are, I think, are very clear now that we are heading to economic recession, and at a scale that perhaps we've never seen before. And that truly is worrying and of concern. But my view is not so much to worry about it, but to think strategically about it and to manage the process as we go through it. None of us have all the answers, none of us. But I think we have an important part of the solution, which is our minds and our capacity to think and to think creatively. And so as we reflect on these economic consequences of this crisis, I want to just point to two areas that I think we have to think through. The important one is the potential shortages of food and other supplies. We are a highly import-dependent economy, and therefore disruptions in the global supply chain is having impacts on us, and it will create shortages and disruptions in the flow that we're used to. And so we're already seeing business closures, we're already seeing unemployment, and we now have to think, can we find some solutions that can not only fill these gaps, but create new employment and new opportunities for persons? So software that can find solutions for distributors, you know, no more than ever, distributors need end-to-end supply chain systems that can help to manage their operations, to find scarcity of supplies, etc., and to match them with the markets that desire these goods and services for that matter. We know that the biggest component of the distribution and wholesale trade is in fact the small business sector, MSMEs. And as you know, I've been doing a lot of work in this area. And so I am concerned about what's happening there. But I don't, again, want to look at it through the negative lens of the problems. We know they're going to be there. We're not going to run away from them, but we have to see them as opportunities where we can find solutions, create new jobs, create new goods and services, and in so doing, find solutions out of these difficulties. So a point was made earlier about a great opportunity to upskill and to use digital opportunities to improve educational standards, right? So we can get new skills, we can upgrade existing skills, etc. A lot of that is free online, and we should certainly make sure that we take advantage of that. But the opportunities for designing new and innovative products to match the crisis that we have is real. And one of the reasons I have on this fancy headgear is because I want to show you that there's a whole new development in the fashion industry with matching masks, right? And you can also go a little further with matching bags, right? Etc. And so, you know, there's no need to be too worried here. If you're in fashion, there, you know, women like myself who want to always look nice. And so there's a market for those of us who want to make sure if we have to wear these masks, that they match. Right? So great opportunities. And so we need to find these opportunities and to make sure, and I say this to small businesses, find persons who do have incomes and discretionary incomes, even in these tough times. And there are persons who are not losing jobs, and there are persons who have significant savings. We need to find them and try to leverage that relationship so that we can earn something. I want to say a little also about the tourism industry, because as you know, that's a big part of our economy. And so the loss of jobs in the tourist industries is very, very significant for us. Now, again, we have to think about technology. How can we, technology already was doing a lot in the tourism industry. It's so easy these days to go online and book, and from your reservations right to booking your dinner at a restaurant can be done in minutes and seconds, right? Digital tourism is something that now can, at a micro level, customize the experience for travelers. Now, of course, we hope that we can get back to the days when visitors are coming, but there's now a fabulous opportunity in the future for virtual tourism. And now this requires building the technological capabilities to design virtual tours and the content for these tours, and just using virtual reality technology to create and simulate the experiences, to have all 3D virtual tourism environments in which you don't have to leave home, and none of us can leave home now and travel, right? And the faster we get those up, the better. So again, great opportunities. We are mindful of the opportunities being lost by persons in the agricultural sector. And what I'm really encouraged to see are all these digital solutions to find quick markets to this glut in supply of agricultural products. I'm really, really happy to see that. So all of that is taking place. So that's just a quick overview of the health and the economic impact, and to just suggest that there are opportunities there and we have to find them. I want to just end on a good news, because there is a decline in oil prices, and we are highly import dependent on oil. And so that's great news for us. And there are obviously some digital solutions to commodity trading, and I know that there's a lot taking place on trying to capitalize the low price of oil. But I want Andrea just to put up that screenshot for me, because I saw this again WhatsApp flyer this morning, and I thought it was really quite funny, because we have this great news of this unprecedented decline in oil, but then the drop in gas prices during a stay-home order is like a ball man winning a comb, right? We can't get to use it as much. We can't drive around as much, etc. But, it's good news, and hopefully it will buffer our impact, our economic impact here in Jamaica and in other countries that are dependent on oil. So I want to thank you all so much for having me, and to say that it's a great opportunity to share my thoughts. And I hope that the rest of the session will be great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Just to remind our viewers and the audience that if you have any questions, just post them in the comment section. We will handle them in the question and answer segment. Again, I want to thank Mervyn. I know he has a full slate of meetings scheduled, so if you see him drop off, it's not that he's tired of us. He is just hectic and busy with a couple of meetings that he has lined up for the rest of the day. So thank you again, Mervyn. Thank you, Prof.
My pleasure. And on that note, Crystal, I just want to thank Prof again. And Michelle, don't take it personally. My commitment to you is to actually listen to the recording of this so I can play back everything you said. I treat both of your time as precious, so I want to respect that. So thank you very much for having us and joining us on this day. And I'm just going to use the opportunity now to jump off. All right, thank you. And social distancing, right? That will make us economically viable. Innovation and social distancing, and financing from Michelle. All right, take care.
Okay.
Thanks, Marvin.
All right. So, Prof, I'm happy that you touched on the economic side of it. So that's a good segue for Michelle to help us know. Michelle, what do we do at a time like this? Help us, please.
You have to, the microphone, just unmute it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I did not realize I was still muted, right? But thank you so much to Fujitsu. for this wonderful opportunity and the fact that you are actually speaking into the needs of people at this time. You're relevant, right? And Prof, I love the points that you gave and the fashion, the fashion forward statement that you're making, right? And the truth is that so many persons are nervous about their finances at this time. And that's a normal and natural thing to feel. What I want us to think about, though, is that there is a quote that says, never ever waste a good crisis. And the truth is that every single crisis causes lots of innovations to happen. And so they're going to happen. And you know who's going to lead the way? Persons who are in the technology sector. So we're talking to the right set of people who are going to come up with the right set of solutions for the world, right? But I wanted to take it from a point of view of what are the questions that you would want answered at this time by me? I'm meeting your needs. What are the most pertinent things that you would want answered?
Oh, now I was unmuted. So we have a couple of questions for you, which we can start with. And then if anyone else have other questions, then please just add it on the comment area and then we're going to take them. So the first question, which I think very relevant for a lot of people, as we said, a lot of people lost their job. What is your suggestion? What those persons can do who lost their jobs and they have outstanding loan payments?
Man, that's a hard position to be in, right? Really, really hard position to be in. However, if you've lost your job and you have a loan, the first thing that you need to do is to contact your financial institution. Now, what happens is that loans go bad when we're not paying them. And especially if we reach the 90 days without paying that loan, then what happens is that we now start impacting what our credit history will look like and what our credit rating will look like. And so what happens is that we would now be impacting what happens in our future. When we don't have good credit history or good credit rating, what happens is that it is harder for us to get loans after, or we may have to take loans at higher interest rates. And we don't want to go and sully the future. So what you need to do is to contact your financial institution right now. Before you start getting into any problems, contact them immediately. Because many institutions have wonderful programs that they've put in place to help people just like you. So why not contact them and find out exactly what they have for you? So for example, at JMB, we have two solutions at the moment. One is that for persons who qualify, because you would be in a particular industry and we recognize that you would have lost your job or you would have had reduced income, then you can apply for a 3-month moratorium. So what happens with that is rather than paying principal and interest, you won't be paying that for the next 3 months. So you get a break and you can now start to think, okay, what is it that I can now do differently? How can I earn differently, etc., in order to be able to take care of my loan obligations? For other persons, they may want to take what we would say is a 6-month relief package where you would be paying the interest on the loan for the 6-month period. However, for that period of time, you're not paying you're not paying any principal at all. So what is happening is the loan balance is not declining. It's staying like this. But what is also happening is that the interest, because it's being paid, is not causing the loan to be going like this on you. And that is what you want to prevent at this time. So again, it is critical. Contact your financial institution. They want to help you. Contact us and let us help you.
Thank you so much for the answer. I think it was very useful.
I just want to add something. I know that for some persons, they may be saying, but 3 months is not enough. If at the end of the 3-month or the 6-month period, you're still in a financial bind, you can reopen the conversation with your financial advisor so that you can now see if you can qualify for any relief going forward also. But it just becomes important. Contact your financial institution immediately.
And I really believe that everyone understands that we are in a difficult situation, what no one counted with. So there are, specific solutions, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So just staying with the same question, with income uncertainty due to job loss or reduced hours, what would you say what should be our priorities, especially with debt?
The priorities with debt at this time. All right. So if you've lost your job or you have reduced income, what you want to do is to manage your cash flow. Now, what some persons may be tempted to do is they say, Lord, I don't want a loan. No, I have a little money. Let me just grab out this money and pay off this loan so I can just breathe, because I don't want to think about debt at this time. What I would implore you to do instead is look at cash flow management. So whatever cash you have, it is king. So you want it to last for as long as possible. So what you could do is go on making those payments. Now, you may decide to make the payments having applied for a moratorium and then you continue after. You may decide to make the payments based on paying the interest for the 6-month period, like what GMB has, and then afterwards you would now start paying on the principal at the end of that period. But it still allows you to stretch out the existing cash that you have, so you can still put food on the table, right? And you can still have light in your house. And just for the persons who are still saying, but I really don't want the loan on my head, I want you to think about it in this way. Let us say you have some money now. I'm just going to pick some figures out of a hat. And let us say you have $500,000 right now. And the amount that you pay each month is $15,000. If you are unemployed for 2 years, then it would be that you would have paid 15 times 24 months. And it would mean that you would still have some money left over. But if you instead took up all the money and you paid off everything at one time, you would not have sufficient money to live on, especially if you have an extended period of unemployment. So again, what you want to do is you want to make the money last longer by stretching out the payments if you can, using the moratorium or using the other facilities that your organization may have for you. And of course, whatever cash you have, don't run to pay off everything all at once. You may also, if you have reduced income, look at consolidating your loans. Now, for those persons who are not too sure about what the debt consolidation is, let us say you have several loans, right? So you have 5 loans. And the debt consolidation would be where you would take one big loan. Let us say you're going to use the $500,000 again, right? You have 500,000, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100. But you have it with different financial institutions, etc. You would take one big loan of $500,000, which you would have taken now, and you would clear out these other loans. You'd still have a loan of $500,000, yes, but rather than have it split up across financial institutions, you would just have one to manage, which makes it easier in terms of debt management. But also, you'd be looking at a loan, the new loan, being a loan that is at a lower interest rate than the weighted average interest rate of the other loans. So you may have a loan at 20% and another one at 25% and another one at 15%. And when you average them out, it comes out to be X. Now, when you're taking this new loan, you want that new loan to give you an interest rate of less than that X and considerably less than that X. So what happens is that your repayment amount ends up to be less. So that, again, the principle is that whatever existing cash you have, you're able to stretch it and make the money last longer because you're paying out less in terms of loans each month.
Thank you for that. Let's just ask one more and then we're going to see if there is any question at Facebook or on Facebook. So let's cross our fingers that this current situation is going to be solved very soon, and hopefully we're not going to, have another one soon. Yes. But it's good to be prepared, and I believe that a lot of people was not prepared for the current situation, what would you suggest for people after we came out from the current COVID-19 period, how they can save themselves more financially? What kind of savings you suggest? In general, what is your advice?
Okay. So COVID is going to teach us a whole new thing about cash management. And so let us look at what you can do now and then what you can do in the future. All right. So I would say that right now, you need to look at your budget. I know it's a bad word for a lot of people, but we have to know what is in the budget. The budget is just going to be looking at, and I see Crystal laughing, but it's true. A lot of people feel as though, you know, I don't have enough. And when I look on it, I'm going to feel depressed. I don't want to do the budget any at all. However, the budget is going to empower you. I felt that way before. So if you feel that way, I felt that way before. And I can say that my budget empowers me to make the best financial choices. So when you look at that budget, you're going to be recording all the income coming in. And then you're going to be looking at all the income going out. And you need to know what is the deficit that you have or the surplus that you have, because maybe you have a surplus, right? And let us say you have a deficit. Then what you want to do is that you want to find additional income. And as I think about it, you can call it that there are 4 types of income and they all start with I. So let's see. So there's immediate or one-off income. And that could be that you look around and you could sell a couple of things here and there in order to gain income immediately. Now, some persons are going to say, but Michelle, nobody wants to buy anything at this time. Some people may be in need of a crib because they just had a baby and you have a crib lying around. Put it up on the classifieds. You never know who may want something, right? Because there are some persons who are still earning income. And so you want to see if you can earn immediate income based on selling some things that you do not have immediate need for at this time. Then you can look at the interim income. So you may have lost your job and you have a skill and you have some resources that can be beneficial. So you have a car and you can drive and you can do deliveries. Now, because I'm talking to persons who are in ICT, then you may also want to look at things like building online courses for people and building other online delivery methods for a lot of things. Many small businesses have now recognized, guys, that they're going to be doing a lot more online selling and they're going to need somebody who has the skill set to do that kind of thing and to set them up in the future. So therefore, look at how you can start marketing yourself. Look at what skills you have. So I would have dealt with immediate and interim. Now I'm going to go to incremental income. And that is the income, the consistent income that we would normally get from our salaries, etc. You're going to look for the long-term employment. And then if it is that you have the incremental income and you still have the skill set that you are using for your interim income, maybe your interim income can now be twinned, right? So now you have 2 of them. So the interim, you continue with that, and then you have the incremental, which is a monthly income. And now it leads to increased income. So therefore, it is an opportunity that is opening up for a lot of people. And I know that when you're in the situation where you're not having the salary, no one, that kind of thing, it's easy to just sort of shut down mentally, but I'm going to beg you and beseech of you, let us look for the opportunities in the crisis. And if we look, we will find some opportunities. They are there. A friend of mine recently said to me, and I so agree with her, money has not disappeared. It's just changing hands. And so what we want to do is to make sure that we are providing something that allows people to put the money in our hands. So therefore, it is coming into our hands, changing hands and coming into our hands, right? So when now you have this new increased income, or you have your incremental income that is now consistent again, right? What you would want to do is, having learned this lesson that it's not nice to be stuck in a situation where there's no emergency fund, the first thing I'm going to beg you to do is start to build your emergency fund, because we never know when emergencies will happen. Just like what happened now, right? Economy will seem to be going great. Everything seems very exciting. And then, oops, we have COVID. Now everybody has an emergency. So what you want to do now going forward is you want to build that emergency fund to be at least 3 to 6 months of your expenses, which means you have to do the budget in order to know what the expenses would be, right? And for some persons, you realize that the emergency funds may be a sizable amount of money when you look at it. And you might say, geez, how will I ever get there? Take it from me. I had to build from 1 day's emergency fund to 2 days emergency fund until I now have the emergency fund that I'm talking about. So I know it takes some time. Be patient with yourself, but you just take it 1 step at a time. And once you then have the emergency funds, then the 3 to 6 months, then you can start now looking at other goals that you have in your life. So what is the goal that you have? Is it a home? Is it an additional business? Is it your retirement? What is your financial goal? You then want to be able to determine how much it will cost. And we can help you to do that at GMB. We can help you to determine how much it will cost you and break it down to tell you how much it is that you need to be saving and or investing towards it every single month to get to the goal that you have in mind. But the important thing when we start investing again is that we need to ensure that what we're investing in matches how long we have to invest, so the tenure of the investment, and also that it matches how much up and down in the value of our money we can truly manage without losing our minds or losing our lives, right? And so that is what we call a risk. So what you want to do is not put your money in something that is so risky that if you lose a portion of that money, you feel as though you're going to have a heart attack, or you don't put it in something that is too risky and know that you have just a year to the goal. So I will give you an example. So somebody called me about 2 weeks ago, and her thing was, Michelle, I have my money in the stock market and I wanted my money to buy a house at the end of the year. And now the stock market has gone down. What am I gonna do? And one of the things I had to start sharing with her is, here's the thing, right? When you have a goal that's a year away, then it would not have been best to have invested in the stock market, because yes, it was doing well, right? And so many persons said, yes, man, I'm going to put my money on an IPO and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to flip the money and take the money out and then I'll be able to do something fabulous. But we have to go back to the ground rules when it comes down to finances, right? The higher the potential risk, the higher the potential return. So you want to ensure that whatever you're putting your money on, as I said, is a risk that you can afford to take and you're willing to take, and it will not put your goal at risk, because the timeline that you have is an appropriate timeline. Investments don't go like this, they go like this. And so you want to make sure that you don't have a situation where you need your money and it has dropped. But you want to have sure you have a long enough timeline if you're doing something risky to recover. If it is that there's any loss, there'll be sufficient time to recover.
Thank you so much. I think I learned a lot. I hope others too. I don't see any questions on our Facebook, but I see we have 10 people listening. So please ask a question. You can win. Let me see it again. No one seems to ask
You know
anything. That means
something?
that.
You know something that has come to my mind?
Mhm.
It's a song, actually. I think it's a Noel Dexter. And I'm going to try to do the little part that
Yes,
inspires
please.
me and that I hope inspires you. It says, one thing lead to another, so when faith and courage is gone, me just look over my shoulder, see where me coming from, and I find the strength to press on. And so I just want to say, listen, we come from far, you know, we look about with Talawa. Every one of us has been through something that we didn't think we could manage, and we're still here. Look over your shoulder, see where you're coming from. And although we're in the midst of COVID, find that strength to press on. Everybody, find the strength to press on. And when you need the support, reach out to your financial institution, reach out to your family, reach out to your friends, reach out to a counselor. They're there for you. You may have a pastor, etc. But everybody just needs to, as a part of the human community. We keep on talking about social distancing, but the truth is, we're only physically distant, you know? Only physically distant. We have so many opportunities to be so close and to support each other in so many ways. Let's use them. Look over your shoulder, see where you're coming from, and find the strength to press on.
I love that energy.
Amen.
And so I think we have a question.
You would like to ask the question, Crystal?
I think we have a question on Facebook from Bella. So Bella is asking, how do you manage to have an investment opportunity with a deadline and taking the risk now when you have the opportunity, but you may be financially unstable after? I'm going to repeat it. How do you manage to have an investment opportunity with a deadline, taking the risk now when you have the opportunity, but you may be financially unstable after?
All right, so what I want to ensure, Bella, is that you're not financially unstable after. So therefore, if it is going to cause you to be financially unstable after, then do not take that risk. What instead you want to do at this time is just to get yourself stable. So unless it is that you have a large emergency fund, and it would be best to talk with your financial advisor to even determine what large could be at this time, because the COVID, the impact, the financial impact of COVID may be longer than we expect, right? So talk to your financial advisor and determine how much money it is that you need to have as emergency funds before you even start taking on investments, because investments come with some degree of risk. Different investments have different degrees of risk, but all investments come with some amount of risk. So the first thing you would do then, Bella, is get yourself to a place where you have the emergency fund, and then in conjunction with your financial advisor, now you're going to be making some decisions thereafter. But now is not the time to be taking risk if you don't have any financial stability. So, you know, like when somebody needs to walk, think about babies needing to walk. The first thing they need to be able to do is to stand, right? And stand in a way that they're not going to topple over. They need to have gotten some amount of balance first. So the first thing you need to do is to have some balance. And after you have the balance, you can step off.
Thank you so much. Okay, so Kimberly has a question. Do you think there will be any hope for girls in ICT in getting a job after COVID-19? Prof, you want to take that one? The question from Kimberly is, do you think there will be any hope for girls in ICT in getting a job after the COVID-19?
I think it depends on two things. The skill sets that you bring to the market, that's always true before and after COVID. And so in answering that question, it's important that we use the time. A lot of persons are, you know, in the stay home mode and, you know, quarantine or what have you. Use the time well, go online, take advantage of the free educational opportunities that are there. Upskill yourself. That will increase the probability of getting jobs and opening up new areas for entrepreneurship, because I always like to think about not just jobs, but creating your own job. So that's one. And then the second thing is that keep an eye on this significant changes that are taking place in the way we do things, the changes that are taking place in the entire world. And they will open new markets, new jobs, new opportunities. And there will be few persons who will be prepared to jump into those spaces, right? Because they're new by definition. And so the skill sets and so on that's required, there'll be a lag time in terms of people filling those skill sets to be able to properly you know, take advantage of those opportunities. So again, if you keep an eye on these emerging areas, the new areas, I talked about, for example, you know, the virtual tourism, that's brand new. We still, a lot of the tourism industry is practically anchored on physical visiting of different countries. Now, that's a whole new area, you know, using avatars and all these kinds of stuff to make this whole experience, you know, using 3D virtual technologies and so on. All of that is new and is emerging. And therefore, I think if you're in there, and you're in there not just as a techie, but for those persons who may not have the technical skills, you can be there as a consultant, right? If you understand the dynamics and the nature of the market. So I think the two things to keep an eye on is your skill sets, making sure that you max out your own capacity to learn as much and do as much. That will increase your chances of getting jobs. And two, keeping an eye on these new areas that are emerging and being pioneers in those areas, not only from an entrepreneurial perspective, but in terms of your readiness to jump into those jobs.
Thank you for that, Prof. Checking to see if we have any other questions. Andrea, do you see any on your end? I don't see any.
No, I don't see any neither.
Okay. All right. So this brings us to the end of our first Girls in ICT virtual event. I'm sure it's the first of many to come. I just wanted to thank our panelists. Prof, thank you so much. Michelle, thank you so much. And I just want to thank Andrea as well. And I want to encourage our ladies or girls in ICT. If you have any questions, I know some of you may have joined late, but if you have any questions, you can just send us a message via our Facebook page or any of our social media platforms. You can also send us an email to our marketing mailbox. It's fcl_marketing@fujitsu.com, or whichever way is easier for you, or front desk still works. You can just call and send your message if that's easier for you. But just to know that COVID-19, it came to us as a surprise. But as Michelle and Prof said, now is the time for us to innovate. Now is the time for us to use technology to get us the solutions that we so require right now. And just to know that, yes, it's a pandemic, but hear what? We're going into a new tomorrow. There's gonna be a new normal. So we have to chin up and know that, hear what? It is what it is, but we will get through this together, although we're apart, but we will get through this. So if you have any questions, if you have need for any guidance as girls in ICT, you can reach out to us. We will put you in touch with the right persons and we will get through this. So thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to many more innovations going forward. I can't wait to see them. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much
everyone.
for having us.
And Michelle, you should consider taking up a singing career.
I was just gonna say that.
Like you miss
Okay,
your
so that could be one of my income streams.
Yes,
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. All right, nice meeting you. All the best.
Nice meeting you
Take
too.
care, ladies.
Good.
Take
Yeah, bye.
care. Bye.